What is going on, everybody? Today, I want to talk about the 10 college football players that I think could absolutely explode next season, in my opinion. And I'm not just talking about 10 players who could break out and be better than they were last season. I'm talking about players that could absolutely explode and be an elite level talent. And I think these players could drastically help their team and make them playoff contenders next season. So, as the title says, I'm going to talk about the 10 players that I think could explode next season. Now let's start off at the bottom of my list. I have number 10, Kevin Concepcion, Texas A&M wide receiver. This is a guy that as a true freshman in 2023 had over 1,000 all-purpose yards for NC State. Last season, NC State took a step back and Kevin Concepcion wasn't as productive, but he is still extremely talented. He plays the wide receiver position, but he is also incredibly good on sweeps. And Kevin Concepcion is one of the top players in the transfer portal, and he committed to Texas A&M. And this is a guy that could really help elevate that Texas A&M offense. They lost a really solid receiver in Noah Thomas, but I'd say Kevin Concepcion could be an upgrade. And Marcel Reed to Kevin Concepcion could be dangerous for that Texas A&M offense. And if Kevin Concepcion plays to his full ability, I think he could give this Texas A&M team playoff hopes because of his talent at wide receiver. I do think that Texas A&M could make Kevin Concepcion the key to that offense. And that Texas A&M offense was 87th in passing yards per game last season. He came out of Charlotte, North Carolina in 2023 as a 3-star prospect for 24/7 Sports, and he was the ACC's Rookie of the Year. He should be the number one receiver for Texas A&M next season. Texas A&M will have Marcel Reed back at quarterback, and Kevin Concepcion should be an elite talent level for them. And I do think Kevin Concepcion is going to go off next season. I have him at number 10. At number 9, I have new Georgia wide receiver Zachariah Branch. Georgia added 7 wide receivers from the transfer portal, and I think Zachariah Branch is a guy that could really help elevate that offense. Noah Thomas was a really good pickup too, but I think Zachariah Branch could be way more versatile. Branch is a dynamic playmaker for the Trojans. He is super speedy and shifty. This is a guy that I don't think has reached his full potential yet, but I think if he reaches his full potential, he could be a monster receiver. He's also a great kick and punt returner, and he could desperately help Georgia in special teams. Zachariah Branch has around 1,000 receiving yards for USC over the last 2 seasons. So he didn't have this crazy receiving season yet, but I think the talent is certainly there. He's a former highly coveted recruit out of high school, and I could see Kirby Smart and Mike Bobo using him to his full ability. He's still young with multiple years of eligibility left, and this might be what they need at wide receiver with an explosive playmaker like Zachariah Branch. I definitely have him at number 9. I think he is going to explode next season and probably have at least 1,000 receiving yards. Maybe not 1,000, but it will be pretty darn close. I'm really high on Zachariah Branch. I have him at number 9. At number 8, I have Clemson defensive lineman Peter Woods. This guy could be a monster next season. I've heard multiple reports that he has absolutely transformed his body this offseason. He has shed his weight to improve his speed and endurance. And I think he could be prepared to make a significant impact to the Tigers defense next season and take a huge leap forward. In his career so far at Clemson, he has had 54 tackles with 11 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. Last season, he had 28 total tackles with 8.5 being tackles for loss with 3 sacks. He came to Clemson being highly recruited after winning 4 state titles in a row at Thompson High School. This is a guy that has been putting in the work, and I think he's set up to take a huge step forward next season and be a huge factor to that Clemson front 7. I think Clemson as a whole will be a defensive force in 2025, but I think Peter Woods is going to be a key focal point for that defense, and I think he's going to have a massive year. I have him at number 8. At number 7, I want to talk about Colin Simmons, edge rusher for Texas. I think this is a guy that will explode next season. He's already showed flashes as a pass rusher playing part-time in 2024 for Texas, but he still managed to lead the team with 9 sacks even though he didn't play full-time. This is a guy that has all the physical tools required to be an elite edge defender and one of the best players in college football over the last decade at the edge position. He should be an All-American in 2025 and a top 10 draft pick as soon as he is draft eligible. I think Colin Simmons is another one of those defensive players who is going to explode next season, and I do have him at number 7. At number 6, this may be an unpopular take, but I have Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. A lot of people would probably go with Mekhi Hughes, maybe even Noah Whittington for Oregon, maybe even Dante Moore at quarterback. But I think one of the most important pieces for that Oregon team is going to be the tight end position with Kenyon Sadiq. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about him enough. He didn't have crazy numbers last season. He only had like 300 receiving yards. But the dude was limited playing time. He's still young and he was the backup to Terrence Ferguson. But he really outplayed Terrence Ferguson sometimes. And he definitely has a lot better of an all-around skill set. He's a tight end, but he's super athletic. He might actually be the most athletic tight end in the country. This is a guy that is a tight end, but you can put him at multiple positions. He is super athletic and he can make incredible plays. He had a great touchdown against Penn State in the Big Ten championship game last year. This is a guy that can make plays. And I think he is going to be a key point to that offense next season with some of their top wide receivers leaving to the NFL. I think Kenyon Sadiq is the most under-the-radar tight end in the country right now, and I think he is going to explode next season. This guy is a phenom at tight end, and he is so versatile. I think he is going to go off next season, and I think he'll be even better than Terrence Ferguson and Patrick Herbert was at tight end for Oregon. And Oregon has used their tight ends a lot in recent memory, so I expect Kenyon Sadiq to play a huge point to that offense next season, and I do have him at number 6. At number 5, I have new Utah quarterback Devin Dampier. He transferred from New Mexico where he had over 1,000 rushing yards last season as a quarterback. He didn't have great passing numbers, but he will be following his offensive coordinator Jason Beck to Utah. And if Utah turns it around next season and gets in the conversation to be a Big 12 title contender, it's going to be because of a guy like Devin Dampier. And I think he has the potential to elevate that offense and make Utah one of the most explosive offenses in the Big 12. He doesn't have any elite options at wide receiver really, but I do think the rushing game could be dangerous with him and the new transfer at running back in Washawn Parker from Washington State. So I think Utah could have a dangerous rushing attack, and Devin Dampier, if he improves his passing, he could be dangerous. This is a guy that ran for 19 touchdowns last season. He is super athletic, and we have seen it in today's college football that dual threat quarterbacks are taking over. Devin Dampier is a quarterback to watch out for. I have him at number 5. I think he is going to have an explosive season. Another guy I want to talk about is Damon Williams at quarterback for the Washington Huskies. This guy showed some great things in just a couple of games last season for Washington. I think he has massive potential, and I think he will be one of the better quarterbacks in the country next season. He's a former 4-star prospect, but he has great arm strength and mobility with his legs. And I think Jedd Fisch will use him to his full ability. Damon Williams had a great game in the bowl game against Louisville last season with 374 yards, 48 rushing yards, and 5 total touchdowns. Washington returns Jonah Coleman in the backfield, and I think they have a much better receiving room. They added a couple of pieces and returned their top receivers. I'm very high on Damon Williams. I think Washington will be an improved football team next year, and I think Damon Williams is going to help them out a lot. And I do think Damon Williams is going to explode next season. I have him at number 4. At number 3, I have Kansas State running back Dylan Edwards. The 2024 season did not turn out exactly how it was planned for Kansas State. They definitely underperformed a bit. But next season, they still have massive potential with Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards both back. And they could have one of the top rushing attacks in the nation. They finished last season beating Rutgers in a bowl game. And with DJ Giddens off to the NFL, that opens the door for a guy like Dylan Edwards, who I think has not shown his full ability yet. He averaged 7.38 yards per carry on 74 attempts after transferring from Colorado. He's also an outstanding receiving back, and I believe he could lead the Big 12 in rushing next season. We saw what he was capable of at Colorado. He showed some flashes last season, but next season I think they are going to unleash Dylan Edwards, and I have him at number 3. At number 2, I have Florida quarterback DJ Lagway. His numbers from last season do not stand out because he didn't start all season. He wasn't the starter going into the season, and he also dealt with injury for a couple of weeks, so he really didn't play in a lot of games, but when he was playing, this Florida team was winning. He's a former 5-star quarterback, and he stepped up in a major way for this Florida team when they needed him. And I'd say if it wasn't for DJ Lagway, Billy Napier might not have kept his job. But now DJ Lagway will have a full year as a starter. He has another spring under his belt, and he will have a lot more experience. This is a guy that has elite throwing ability, and he can make great plays on the ground running the ball. He's a very talented player, and I think he has the potential to explode next season with a very tough schedule. The eyes are going to be on DJ Lagway. This Florida team is probably going to upset a team or two next year. And don't be surprised if we see them in the playoffs because of a guy like DJ Lagway at quarterback. I do have him at number 2. And at number 1, we already saw some flashes of him. I have Lenore Sellers, South Carolina quarterback. But I think in 2025, he's going to take it to the next level and be a Heisman finalist. He showed his ability last season, but he definitely didn't show his full ability. He was only a redshirt freshman, and he only threw for 2,500 yards and 18 touchdowns, but he still completed 65% of his passes. And that is very good and a lot higher than people expected for a quarterback that is known for running the ball. He is a danger to defenses. He can be a nightmare to tackle, but he's also working on his passing game, and he could be a monster at quarterback. He ran for over 600 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. This is a guy that could be the most dynamic player in college football next season. South Carolina is definitely a team to watch, and I think Lenore Sellers is going to have a massive year in 2025. I think he will explode. And I do have Lenore Sellers at number 1. But there you have it. Those are the 10 college football players that I think are going to explode in 2025. And honestly, I could have made this video with 50 to 100 players. There's so many players with breakout potential for next season. There's a lot of players to choose from, but I can only choose 10. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. But you guys let me know down in the comments below, what player do you think will explode in 2025? But let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. And also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.